If you want to download this stuff, I've just got it on a Google Drive. It's shadowrest.serverpit.com. Sometimes it loses the link. It's got its dynamic DNS thing, and it has to be fixed every 6 months, but it should, if you go there, it should bring you to the Google Drive. So I've kind of been debating on what the next step will be with what I was to go with the last video. I talked about like E3 and the Kiss Assist, but I don't use that, so I figured I would just show off what I use and how it works. It's kind of my own creation. It's not necessarily the way someone else would do it. There's some weird quirks with it, but it basically just looks like this. It's just a little IM GUI. See, it does this stuff sometimes whenever I start it up, but when it works, it normally works okay. It's just got a little panel. It shows some of your character information. The red's HP, blue's mana, green is pet, and then it shows the zone, and it shows how many free buffs you've got. You can do things like left click and right click the HP bars, and it'll do like either a regular heal. It'll take your cleric or your shaman and your druid, and it'll cast the heal on whatever you're targeting, or it'll cast a heal over time on whatever you're targeting, or you can control click and it'll like your alt healers, like your hybrid classes, like a beast lord or a ranger, they will, if you let control and click, it'll heal using those guys. But if you control and you right click, it will heal with your main guys and your hybrid lobby healer guys. So it's got a little bit of variability with that. It's also got like you can turn your healing macro on, which is just kind of like auto heal, and that'll run on the main healers. It's the settings for that are just in a script. We might take a look at the script in a little bit. Got a little script for the bard to run his melody, and I've got a little script for the enchanter to mez all the mobs that aren't the main assist. It's got a main assist select, so if you set it to the tank, whatever the tank is targeting an NPC, whenever engage is enabled, once engage is enabled, whoever the main assist is, if the main assist is targeting a NPC, then your guys just start banging on them. Like, you can set them to, when you click on the character, it shows whatever class it is has its own settings. So like the ranger is going to have, you can set them to melee or to auto fire with the bow, and then your wizard has like you can enable the DD, and you can enable what gem you want it to cast from, and you set all this up through in the script. So it kind of looks like so the original scripts in Macroquest were macro files, star.mac files that will basically run anything that you can run in your console, like your slash commands and your social buttons. Anything that you can type in that console, the macros can execute that. But now they switched over with the next stuff to allow for Lua scripts, which is like kind of like an entire, what do you call it, language. It's like a whole language you can use. So you can basically do whatever you want, but the way I have it set up is each class has like I just labeled it as a spell line, and then like a cleric has a heal, and it's got a bunch of different heals for each level. It's got a heal over time, and you set the spell gem you want it to automatically use, and you set whether it's enabled or not, and that's like the default. And so if it's in this level range, then it's going to select this one, and then that's what it'll use. And I just have it all in tables. Lua uses tables to store information. So that's basically what that looks like. So it has all the default settings in the main script, but once you start making your selections about what you want to use and not use, then you have a little save settings button, and that will save everything over into like it's kind of like an INI, but it's just another Lua. Just another Lua file that when you load up the script, it automatically looks at the file and reads all these settings back into the program when it loads. And that's just the basics of that kind of stuff. In here you've got a little tank button. When you press the tank button, if you're on a server that's got bots, then it will load up. It'll show your bots, so you can select your bot as a tank, and inside the script there's certain spell casts that you can set to only cast on your selected tank. So things like your like the shaman's got Spirit of the Leopard, and then the mage has like all of his short duration damage shields that cost a lot of mana, and then the cleric has heal over time that'll, once you select your tank, it'll automatically start doing that when he's got a certain percentage of HP, just barely missing. Anyway, so there's some other things on my own server. I have like an auto nav and an auto target, which kind of will turn your guys into bots. They'll just run around and do stuff. They have like a path, like you can set zones and give them paths, and you can have multiple paths. So like you have one, if you go on a heroic adventure, then you can set that to have a different path ID, and then your character will run through those paths. It'll go to the first one, and then it'll do a check, and then once it gets to that first one, then it'll go to the next path, or the next point on the paths. That's just set, and all that information is in tables, so I've only got a few zones that do that. I have a level up, which will take your character from 1 all the way up to like 85, but it really only works on my server because I've only got the settings and the paths set to use the NPCs on there. But anyway, there's some other stuff it can do. A little invite button, you can disband everybody and invite everybody. You've got a gate button, and you've got an origin button that'll have all your dudes use their origin AA. A door button, so when you run up to like a Nexus stone or one of the Plane of Knowledge stones or a Plane of Knowledge book, you just click door and it'll run the Lua script to do all that. Target button, if I want everybody to target a certain person, or if I want them to stick to me, or if I select a target and I want everybody to stick to that target. Sit camp, a clear button. You can do anything you want it to. But the basic thing I use it for is just so I can run around, target somebody, and then my guys will just kill them. They'll kill them, they'll heal themselves, they'll run the songs, and they'll mez. And that's everything. And then if you have self buffs and buffs, they'll buff the group. So it just basically does everything. Might as well just show how it works. You just have your engage, and then auto stick will have your guys follow you. You target, and your guy will start dotting. Your wizard's gonna nuke. It just does what it does. If you right click on these, you can't really see what it's doing, but if you right click on a character, whatever character that is, the window is going to be brought to the foreground. So if you don't know where your window is, but you've got your little panel up, you can right click and then you can see your whatever window your client that you right clicked, it'll show and it'll bring it to the foreground. I mean, I don't know if there's much more to say about this and the way it works. If you've got any ideas of what I could add to this, I technically on my own server I have a whole set of GM tools. Maybe I'll bring that up and show you what that does. So right now, the way I have everything set up, when you click on it and you load it up, and it doesn't have settings, it'll automatically load the default settings for those levels. Well, the problem is I haven't finished writing everything, so when you level up and you get to a new spell level, you actually have to go into your Macroquest config folder, and then you have to delete it says Colbot settings, and then whatever server you're on, you'll have to delete that and then go back into the program and close it out, start it back up again, and then click Save Settings to update your spell lines or it'll just keep on using the lower level heal spells, or the lower level dot spells, or lower level everything that it was the last time you saved it. So that's just a problem with it right now. If you want to try to use it, you're gonna want to know that. Another thing you're gonna want to know if you try to start using this is that if there's a specific tank buff that's using that function, you're gonna want to select your tank. You have to hit the tank button, which refreshes the tank list. You gotta choose your tank, and then you have to save it. And if it's loading up and you're having problems with the tank buffs and it crashing, you'll have to do that first. The heal script, which is the heal.lua, also has a hot heal over time thing, and if you don't select the tank and you don't save it, it will also crash, or the healer script won't work if it doesn't have a tank selected.